Early life: Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born on January 17, 1899, in Brooklyn, New York, to Italian immigrant parents, Gabrielle Capone and Teresa Raiola. He was the fourth of 9 children. His family was off modest means, and they lived in a tough neighborhood where young Al would grow up amidst the influence of street gangs, youth, and early criminal activity. Capone's involvement in crime began at an early age. He dropped out of school at the age of 14 and started working odd jobs. His first job was as a candy store clerk, which is where he acquired the nickname Scarface after he was slashed in the face during a bar fight. This scar would remain with him for life. In his late teens, he joined a street gang known as the 5 Points Gang and became involved in various criminal activities, including petty theft and street fights. It was during this time that he met Johnny Torrio, a prominent gangster who would become his mentor. Moved to Chicago in 1920 with the onset of Prohibition, the nationwide ban on alcohol production and sales, Capone and Torrio saw a lucrative opportunity in bootlegging, smuggling, and selling illegal alcohol. Torrio moved to Chicago and soon invited Capone to join him. Rise to power. Under Torrio's guidance, Capone quickly rose through the ranks of the Chicago outfit, a powerful criminal organization. He became known for his ruthlessness and willingness to use violence to eliminate rivals. In 1925, after an assassination attempt on Torrio, Capone took over the leadership of the organization. Prohibition-Era crime: Capone's reign in Chicago. During Prohibition was marked by immense wealth and violence. He controlled speakeasies, brothels, gambling dens, and the illegal alcohol trade. He was also involved in labor union racketeering and controlled politicians and law enforcement officials through bribery and intimidation. St. Valentine's Day Massacre, one of the most infamous events associated with Capone's rule, was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre on February 14, 1929. 7 members of a rival gang, led by George Bugs Moran, were gunned down in a garage in Chicago, while Capone was widely suspected of ordering the hit. He was never officially charged. Legal troubles: Capone's criminal empire attracted the attention of law enforcement. In 1931, he was finally brought to justice, but not for the crimes he was most notorious for. Instead, he was convicted of income tax evasion and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. Imprisonment and decline: Capone served part of his sentence at Alcatraz and faced declining health due to syphilis. In 1939, he was released on parole and retired to his estate in Palm Island, Florida. His health continued to deteriorate, and he spent his remaining years out of the public eye. Death: Al Capone died on January 25, 1947, at the age of 48 due to complications from syphilis. He had been out of the criminal world for years and spent his final years with diminished mental and physical faculties. Al Capone's life is a testament to the era of organized crime during Prohibition in the United States, and his name remains synonymous with gangsters and the criminal underworld. Legacy: Al Capone's legacy continues to captivate popular culture and historical interest. He is often depicted in films, books, and television series as an iconic figure of the Prohibition era. While he was a notorious criminal, he also possessed charisma and cunning, which contributed to his enduring appeal. Despite his criminal activities and the violence associated with his reign, Capone was seen by some as a Robin Hood figure, as he provided jobs and services to the impoverished during the Great Depression. However, his brutal tactics and involvement in organized crime cannot be overlooked. Impact on law enforcement, the challenge of bringing Capone to justice for his many crimes, and the eventual conviction for tax evasion led to increased scrutiny of organized crime by law enforcement agencies. Capone's case highlighted the need for more effective methods to combat organized crime, which eventually led to the formation of specialized units and agencies dedicated to this purpose. Historical significance: Al Capone's life and career serve as a stark reminder of the complexities and challenges of combating organized crime. His ability to evade justice for so long and his influence on American society during a tumultuous period of history continue to be subjects of historical study and fascination. In summary, Al Capone's life story is one of rags to riches, crime and power, and eventual downfall and imprisonment. He left an indelible mark on American history as one of the most notorious gangsters of the 20th century, and his name remains synonymous with the era of prohibition and organized crime in the United States. Aftermath: following Capone's death, his criminal empire slowly disintegrated. Without his leadership, the Chicago outfit fractured into various factions, leading to internal conflicts and power struggles among its members. The end of Prohibition in 1933 also significantly impacted the profitability of illegal alcohol operations. Family life: while he was a ruthless gangster in public, Capone had a family life as well. He married Mae Josephine Coughlin in 1918, and they had one child, a son named Albert Francis Sonny Capone, in 1918. Despite his criminal activities, Capone was known to be a devoted father and husband, and he maintained a relatively stable family life. Impact on Chicago, where Capone had exerted his dominance for years, saw a decline in organized crime's overt influence. After his imprisonment and eventual death, law enforcement efforts and a changing social and political landscape contributed to a reduction in the power of organized crime in the city. Continued interest: Capone's life story has continued to capture the imagination of writers, filmmakers, and historians. Numerous books, movies, and television shows have been made about him, adding to the enduring fascination with his life in the era of Prohibition. Legal reforms: the legal troubles Capone faced played a role in the development of modern financial investigative techniques. The U.S. government's successful prosecution of Capone for tax evasion set a precedent for using financial records to combat organized crime, tax fraud, and money laundering. Final thoughts: Al Capone's life is a complex tale of ambition, ruthlessness, and the pursuit of power and wealth through illicit means. While he was a criminal mastermind who orchestrated countless illegal activities, his story also reveals the limitations and consequences of a life steeped in violence and organized crime. His life and legacy continue to be subjects of historical and cultural interest, offering insights into a turbulent period of American history and the enduring allure of the gangster. Mystique. Historical influence: Al Capone's life and the Prohibition era left a lasting imprint on American culture and politics. The failure of Prohibition, largely due to the rise of organized crime, led to the eventual repeal of the 18th Amendment in 1933, which ended the nationwide ban on alcohol. This event is often seen as a reflection of the limitations of attempting to legislate morality and the unintended consequences of such policies. Social and economic impact: the 1920s and early 1930s when Capone was at the height of his power, were marked by significant social and economic change in the United States. The Roaring Twenties, characterized by increased prosperity and a focus on hedonism, collided with the criminal underworld's rise. Capone's illegal activities thrived in this environment, but also contributed to the era's volatility, continued investigation and speculation. Despite being a subject of countless investigations and biographies, there are still unanswered questions and mysteries surrounding Capone's life. Some aspects of his criminal activities remain shrouded in secrecy, and his life has inspired ongoing speculation and conspiracy theories. Legal and ethical lessons. The life of Al Capone serves as a stark reminder of the ethical and legal challenges posed by organized crime. It underscores the importance of law enforcement and the justice system in addressing criminal enterprises and the need for strong regulatory measures to prevent the rise of such organizations. American mythology. Al Capone occupies a unique place. In American mythology, he is often romanticized as a figure who defied authority and lived by his own rules, even as he engaged in criminal activities. This romanticized view, however, should not overshadow the very real harm caused by his criminal empire and the suffering experienced by his victims. In conclusion, the life and legacy of Al Capone continue to be a source of fascination and reflection on the complex interplay of crime, power, and society in the early 20th century. His story serves as a cautionary tale of the consequences of unchecked criminal power and the enduring allure of the gangster figure in American history and culture. Historical parallel to modern organized crime. The rise and fall of Al Capone draw parallels to modern organized crime syndicates around the world. His ability to consolidate power, evade law enforcement, and control vast criminal enterprises serves as a case study for contemporary criminologists, law enforcement agencies, and scholars studying criminals organizations. Cultural references. Al Capone's life and the Prohibition era continued to be a rich source of inspiration for popular culture. Movies, television series, and books often use his character or the era as a backdrop for storytelling. Notable films like The Untouchables, 1987, and TV series like Boardwalk Empire, 2010-2014, have portrayed Capone and his contemporaries. Tourism and historical sites. Certain locations associated with Al Capone, such as the Lexington Hotel in Chicago, where he operated during his criminal heyday, have become historical landmarks and tourist attractions. Visitors are drawn to these sites to learn about the history of organized crime and Capone's role in it, legal reforms, and modern racketeering laws. The efforts to bring Al Capone to justice for tax evasion played a role in the development of modern racketeering laws and the creation of federal agencies focused on combating organized crime. These legal reforms have had a lasting impact on the fight against criminal organizations both in the United States and abroad. Ethical and moral questions. The legacy of Al Capone raises ethical and moral questions about the glorification of criminal figures in popular culture. While his life is often romanticized, it's important to remember the suffering and violence that accompanied his criminal activities and the impact they had on communities and individuals. Continuing historical research, Al Capone remains a subject of historical research and debate. Historians and scholars continue to explore new aspects of his life and criminal empire, shedding light on the broader social, political, and economic context of the Prohibition era. In summary, Al Capone's life story extends far beyond his years of criminal activity. It encompasses his lasting impact on American law, enforcement, popular culture, and the ongoing exploration of organized crime in society. His life is a complex tapestry of power, crime, and cultural fascination that continues to captivate people around the world. Legal and social lessons Al Capone's life provides. Important lessons about the role of the justice system and society's response to criminal activity. His ability to evade conviction for his most notorious crimes highlights the challenges law enforcement faces when dealing with powerful and influential criminal figures. It also underscores the importance of upholding the rule of law and pursuing justice regardless of a person's social or economic status. Changing landscape of organized crime, the era of Al Capone and Prohibition-Era gangsters marked a specific chapter in the history of organized crime in the United States. Over the years, organized crime syndicates have evolved and diversified their activities, including drugs, trafficking, cybercrime, and international criminal enterprises. The tactics used by Capone and his contemporaries have changed, but the battle against organized crime remains a pressing concern for law enforcement worldwide. Impact on Chicago's history. Chicago's history has been shaped in part by the presence of influential figures like Al Capone. The city's reputation as a hub of organized crime during the Prohibition era has left a lasting mark on its identity. Today, Chicago remembers this period through historical landmarks, museums, and tours that delve into its criminal past. Inspiration for fiction and art. The enduring fascination with Al Capone's life has led to a wealth of fictional works, art, and literature inspired by his character and the time in which he lived. Artists and writers continue to explore the themes of power, corruption, and the American dream through stories loosely based on his life. Criminal justice reforms, the efforts to combat organized crime during Capone's era, prompted discussions about criminal justice, reform, and the need for more effective methods of addressing criminals. Enterprises. Some of the legal strategies and reforms initiated during this time continue to influence law enforcement practices today. Historical context. Al Capone's life is inseparable from that broader historical context of the early 20th century. It was an era marked by significant social change, economic upheaval, and shifting attitudes toward morality and authority. Capone's rise to power and fall from grace reflect the challenges and complexities of that era. In conclusion, the life and legacy of Al Capone continue to be a source of reflection, historical inquiry, and artistic inspiration. His story offers valuable insights into the dynamics of crime and power in society, the evolution of organized crime, and the enduring fascination with larger-than-life figures who straddle the line between legend and infamy.